And good evening, everyone. ESS Empire State Sports proudly presents the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show. Your host tonight, Joey Ream, Dave Bartlett, myself, Pete Golson, and our special guest, Chris Wells. Coach Wells, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Pete, Dave, Joey. Thanks for having me on. And was fortunate enough to play golf with Joey a couple months ago, and we got talking about this. And he must have been obviously a hot show because the earliest I could get on was August 17th or 18th here, and 2 months after our golf match. So happy to be on.
We're doing real well with it. So we've been busy and getting good reviews, so we'll take it.
All right.
Yeah, it's amazing, Chris, because I've had a few people. I'm trying to slow down so that I don't have the big gap like you and I've had for this show, because I began realizing, yeah, I'd love to come on. Yeah, well, we got room for you in September. Doesn't sound too good when you're asking in July. So
sounds like the dentist office.
Yeah, it is. It's like getting into the dentist office. Right?
Hurry up and wait. Yeah,
much more enjoyable than a root canal, but still a long wait.
A lot less painless.
Well, Coach Chris, yeah, we appreciate you coming on, and we'll probably start off. We do this. It seems like the whole reason this show came about is because of the situation that we're in the world. So, being a head coach in your season, you're a winter season. So right now, where does St. Lawrence University women's hockey stand as far as the Corona COVID-19 is going?
Well, I mean, we're in a unique situation with how St. Lawrence has approached it. We had an administration that took our usual 2 semesters, the fall and spring, pre-Christmas and post-Christmas semesters, and broke them up into 3 semesters. So the first semester is going to start up here next week, and that runs to just a little after Thanksgiving. And then there's going to be a second semester that starts up earlier, January 3rd, which a lot of students will experience their first 2 weeks in the North Country that they usually don't have to be back here at school. Only the athletes have that luxury of facing those 2 weeks in January and understanding how cold it is. And that semester will go until April 16th is the last final, and there's May 5th or 6th, and then the third semester is going to start, and that's going to be a 10-week semester. So to lessen the density of kids on campus, we broke up into 3 semesters, and there can be about 1,800 out of the 2,400 students on campus the first 2 semesters, and then they were hoping to get about 800 in that third semester in May and June. So, a lot of situations came about when we had to try to figure out when we were coming back. And, I guess I always assumed that we'd be coming back in the fall and trying to play and get a schedule. I mean, albeit probably not until Thanksgiving, the way things were going back in early July when we made the decision. But I think it was about July, 5th or 6th in that area. The Ivy League, which composes of half of our league, said they're not going to have any sports until July 1 of 2021. And then I started thinking, it's going to be tough to slap together a non-conference schedule, and what is it going to look like? And, Colgate in the Patriot League had come out with their fall schedules saying that there's going to be no overnight travel. So just trying to get a sense of what that fall would look like. Our staff, along with the support of our athletic director, Bob DeRocher, and Randy LeBrake, I was a little timid to ask them to not come back in the fall. We're fortunate enough to have a $20 million facility just renovated here this past spring that we were able to get into for about a week towards the end of the year by the time I got done, and then school shut down. So obviously, with the men's and women's teams, getting a lot of notoriety at the university. I didn't know how they'd respond to not coming back in the fall, essentially saying St. Lawrence women's hockey is not going to play hockey until January. They could have been more supportive and understanding. So long story short, St. Lawrence women's hockey will be coming back in January, and we'll go through that July 4th semester. It'll give us a great opportunity to train in the spring. If there is a season, I think we'll know a lot probably by the middle of October. Quite honestly, we might know by Wednesday the way all these schools are pulling out. Mahoney just texted me. He said Michigan State's going remote. Notre Dame just sent their kids home for 2 weeks, and Ithaca is going fully remote too. So the walls are closing in, and I think one of the things that I think benefits the North Country schools, obviously with no active cases here in St. Lawrence County at the moment. I think if the schools can manage and withstand that first month or even the first couple of weeks that it looks like some of the schools are having trouble with, there just isn't that in and out traffic of people coming into the North Country. So I think if we can weather the storm and still continue to enjoy ourselves, I think we could probably end up in the spot that we're in now, and hopefully all 4 schools can continue to stay in college and have some sort of in-class participation, and the sports teams can continue to train, albeit just within themselves. But that probably for a lot of people that beats staying at home and having mom and dad tell you to do the dishes and take the dog out and feed the dog and all that kind of stuff. So I got 3 at home, 2 at home now. So those are the conversations that are happening here. But that's it in a nutshell. And I just don't know. In women's hockey, the kids get 4 years to play. I mean, there has been a little bit of a boom in the professional ranks where there are some opportunities for them to go play. But still, the 4 years that they play at the collegiate level is certainly the highest level they can play at, and probably the last time they'll play organized sports. So there's a number of kids on a number of teams in our league that have chosen not to come back to school or are waiting to see how things break, whether or not they'll take the entire year off. Because even if we do have a season, chances are it's going to be a 16 to 20 game season, and some of our athletes and athletes that we compete against, and rightfully so, have said, I'm not going to waste a year eligibility, playing 16 to 20 games.
So
that's it. That's
yeah.
kind of in a nutshell where we're at.
And so obviously, so you won't be seeing your athletes until January.
No, and I think most of them are probably happy on the flip side that they don't have to see me until January. So that'll be good. But we do have a couple. We have one freshman that is going to be on campus, and then one senior who, for some academic, just the way her courses fell, and some of her course offerings weren't going to be offered in that 3rd semester. And she didn't know, regardless of what the season was going to be like, if she would come back for a 5th year anyway, because she wants to pursue some higher education back in Canada next year. So she is back. So we have a couple of kids back, and so we'll be able to hopefully start, just to get on the ice with them and train maybe by the end of September and just kind of see how it goes. It's, I mean, all these universities and the administrations have put in, unfathomable amount of time to make this happen. I mean, I hadn't been up, like most of the employees, other than the higher administrators, haven't been on campus. And I walked through our sports facility the other day, and to see how much work has been put in to try to get everybody back and safe and try to keep everybody on campus was certainly humbling. I certainly felt guilty with the amount of work that I haven't done to try to help out. But all of our administrators have been doing, like I said, yeoman's job at all 4 of the colleges around here to make it happen.
Well, and I had dinner a couple weeks ago with Darren Wilson, and his daughter goes to SLU, and I had kind of forgotten. He had mentioned to me that about your three different semesters, if that's what you were calling it, 3 different, pick 2 out of the 3, format, which was very intriguing and interesting. Do you know of any other schools doing it that way?
Well, Dartmouth always has 3 semesters, so I think they're doing something like that. And then Brown has done something as well. But there are a lot of schools that were talking about it. Williams was talking about it over the summer. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people went back to the traditional. And I think a lot of it has to do with just the ability to teach classes and professors' availability to be able to teach over the 3 semesters and make sure kids can hit their requirements. Some of our kids aren't going to be able to take the regular path academically just because of the course offerings over the school year. but if that's the least thing that they have to worry about, then they're in pretty good shape. I think everybody has to make some adjustments to make it all work. Our kids are used to that. I mean, we had a little bit of a training of that this year, just, as we were over at Rue's house in Sooty Canton for almost the entire season this year while Appleton was getting renovated. And, there were a couple of dates where we thought we might get back into Appleton, and then, those got pushed back. So I think for the majority of our team, we've kind of been used to some of these situations as to when things might get started and knowing that it might not start when people think it's going to start. And we had a little bit of an experience like that last year.
So, Coach.
So you guys never. Go ahead, Pete.
Oh, sorry. I'm just curious. We've asked other coaches on here, and we'll ask you the same question. How did you handle, since this season is going to be totally screwed up for everybody? How are you handling communication between you and your players, and do you have a off-season work regimen that you have told them to do to prepare for the season no matter what, and are they following through with that?
Well, I was going to have Joey deliver the mail for him, to be able to, communicate with him. But since he's retired and can't isn't going to be able to deliver the mail, we certainly have a number of Zoom calls, and our two assistants, Mayor McDougall and Ted Wisner. Ted does almost all the recruiting, and Mayor does such a great job of communicating with our team during the season, in the off season. She does a lot with their academics and helps them, with their course scheduling and picking out things, for their majors and, what courses fit at certain times and professors. So, Mayor's probably been in contact with them the most out of everybody on our staff, but, obviously everybody's got their phone in their hand to be able to text. We have a group text that goes out, and I think we were having a lot more contact with them when there was a lot of uncertainty in May and June, and then July up until we made the decision to go to semesters 2 and 3. We tried to schedule a Zoom call once a week and just to stay in touch with them, and had different sort of themes for each week. 1 week we had each group had to do a different TikTok, and everybody had a good time with that. And I think we try to contact them within once every 2 weeks. Here over the last couple weeks and the 2 weeks leading up to September, we have 4 Zoom sessions throughout the week, and the girls can get on any one of those 4 Zoom sessions, whatever fits their schedule, and try to stay in touch with them. We have a strength coach that at 6 a.m. I get the email that they get as to what their workouts are supposed to be. And, all our athletes are pretty driven, and they want to be able to compete. And, I think the inability to be able to compete has probably driven their desire to work out and just be active more. So my guess is there's probably been more work put into the off-ice conditioning here in COVID than there normally would be. We've all played sports, and the lead up to the season, and we've, kind of all probably said to ourselves, well, I'll use the first couple of weeks to get ourselves in condition, and we should be all set by then. That's probably not going on at the moment, because I think this is kind of their, season for them, and we've made some adjustments. Obviously, with the next 3 or 4 months, our strength coach had them tapering off here to be able to play our season and not do as much strength stuff. So he's added some more strength months onto the season here in September and October. And then, depending on how things go, we'll start to taper and get ready to play in January.
I don't know if anybody would ever saw this coming as a virtual/digital world that we're in now, of doing all this and trying to prepare for a season rather than being hands-on. It really amazes me, which comes to my next question. This must have threw a wrench in your routine for recruiting. I was wondering if you could take us through your recruiting process and let us know how this is all affected and everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's a dead period, which means there's no in-person contact, off-campus viewing, evaluating through the month of September now. As I mentioned, Ted Wisner, uh, local Canton person as well, has been doing our recruiting for the last, well, he's been 12 years with me, and then he was with PJ Flanagan 3 or 4 years. And so he pretty much does all our recruiting. I think, a lot of the teams are, can still play in some of the tournaments, and, Massachusetts is jumping up to New Hampshire and playing, and people are going to Connecticut, wherever they can get into tournaments, and they're using Live Barn and, some of the streaming platforms for us to be able to watch kids play. And obviously it's not the same. And it's certainly thrown a wrench into Ted's lifestyle, because I don't think he spent this many nights in his bed since he was about 4 years old. He's one of the last of the one-person recruiters. I think so many staffs, both assistants, are recruiting, and Ted just loves to recruit, and that's what he wants to do. And he was head coach at Colgate, National Coach of the Year one of the years, and realized that he just wants to recruit, and that's what he likes to do. That's what he's great at, and so that slowed him down a little bit, but he's got 2 kids at home, and so I think they've enjoyed having him around. And he's been playing a little bit more golf than normal, and so in terms of that, he's probably been happy that the recruiting isn't normally what it is. But right now we'd be gearing up to 8 straight weekends where you're leaving Thursday and you're back home Sunday night, and crossing the border and driving the 401 down to Toronto, Hamilton, Stony Creek, Labor Day tournament in Burlington. And so it's really grounded everybody, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think if one of the good things that has come out of the pandemic is, I think it's kind of taught everybody that we all probably just need to slow down a little bit.
So Chris, let's back up just a little bit, and I'm myself for one, and other listeners, give us a little background. How did you get to where you are? Where'd you come from? What have you done along the way to get to where you are now?
Well, I grew up on Elm Street here in Canton. My dad and my mom both worked at St. Lawrence University. Mom was a nurse for 25 years. My dad was a full-time professor in the government department for 40, and kind of held on to do some classes after that for another 5 to 10 years. Ended up being mayor of the town. And so I grew up here, born and raised, went to Canton High School, played soccer, hockey, golf. And I think one of the things that I loved, and our group of friends loved, is just about everybody from the North Country. We all kind of stayed until the last possible moment. I think kids are, the way things are now, teams are, the select teams are forming at younger ages. Kids are going to prep school earlier than we did. So I look back at our time and happy that we did it the way we did, because there was a great group of hockey players in particular, and athletes through our era, all across Section 10. And we just loved competing against each other, and you'd play against them in the fall in soccer, then you play against them, in hockey. And, it wasn't rough and tumble on the golf course in the spring, but you certainly butted heads with some of the same athletes.
The potential was there, though.
Yes, it was. If some of your opponents weren't counting correctly, yeah, certainly things got a little rough. But, we ended up graduating from Canton, and took a postgraduate year at the Hotchkiss School, and was fortunate enough to come back to St. Lawrence, and made the team, and played 4 years at St. Lawrence. Went over to Europe. Joe Marsh, who was the head coach, connected me with one of his buddies who had a connection over in Toulouse, France. So I spent an entire year in Toulouse, France. And the North Country is great, as we all know, and I think that's why the show is popular as it is. The day before, 2 days before, I was supposed to go to France in Toulouse, which is 5 hours south of Paris. It's where they make the Airbus planes, the Airbus capital. And we get a phone call at home, and it's from the Dillingham family over in Ogdensburg. And that's a popular name around. And one of their sons Steve was living in Toulouse, and they said, well, you got to hook up with Steve. And, they took me in for the entire year, and he and his wife, Fabiana, and I couldn't thank them enough for everything that they did for me while I was over there. And I couldn't repay them with anything for the year that I was over there. And I remember Steve looked at me, he goes, you'll repay me when you continue to do something like this for somebody else later on in your life. And that was, obviously a great experience to be over there, but I have someone from the North Country to help me translate early on and help me through some of the tough parts was so beneficial. The next year I went to England, Slough, and got hooked up with Richie Beaupre from Norwood. And so he helped me out. So no matter where you go, you're getting tied through with Section 10 and getting pulled through. And, even Clarkson, St. Lawrence guys got along over there in England. We did okay. And certainly developed a nice relationship with Richie and his family after that. And then I came back and was out in Lake Tahoe, slinging drinks and waiting tables, and actually had a tough time finding a job early on. So my buddy Darren Abbott and I, we went to ump school to ump slow pitch softball for the summer. So we got our ump certificates, and that's when Donnie Vaughn called me. He was the head coach at Colgate, and offered me, well, he didn't offer me. I went out for an interview and was offered a job. I coached at Colgate for 4 years, 94 to 98. So Donnie was St. Lawrence grad, and then Billy Wilkinson, who graduated from St. Lawrence in the 70s, was coaching at Western Michigan. He had an opening. My wife and I went out to Kalamazoo for a year, and that's when PJ Flanagan in 99 took over the women's job here at St. Lawrence, who was also my high school hockey coach. And, obviously the Flanagan's name is known well around the North Country, even before Kyle and Sean showed up to play at St. Lawrence. And so when PJ took the women's job in 1999, I came from Western Michigan to replace Paul as the assistant coach with Joe and Jay Heimbach. And was with Joe for a while, and up until 2008, when PJ left the women's team here to take the Syracuse job. So I walked down the hall and took PJ's job in 2008. And so who knows, I guess if PJ leaves Syracuse, that would be the third stop for me to take PJ's, but certainly quite comfortable where I'm at. But that's how I've ended up where I'm at. I've been coaching the women's program for 12 years now. Obviously, the support that the university gives us, our athletic director, Bob DeRocher, and Randy LeBrake, our direct contact, have been fabulous with the support we have. And for the university to drop $20 million into that facility, not many people have been able to get in and really take a good look at it. But it's certainly completely overwhelming, even to me now, as I walk in there with how well the architects did, keeping the charm of Appleton, but also making it very user-friendly for this generation of kids in the recruiting process. But, as you mentioned, Pete, we have a 4,500 foot square foot weight facility, strength and conditioning facility. And, and that's for both the men's and women's teams. It's just gigantic. And, there's just too much in there for a 51-year-old guy to use all the time. But I know both of our teams are, have utilized it already and will continue to. So our staff has been together for 12 years. We're the longest tenured staff in the country. Mayor McDougall, Barry, Ted Wisner, and me have been together that long, and will continue to be. They love their roles, and they allow me to be a head coach. And I don't think there's another head coach in the country that gets to coach their team, and that's what I like to do. I like to coach the team. Mayor does a great job with, she coaches the defensemen, and she does all of our penalty killing. Ted and I split up the power play. Ted does all the recruiting, and, it just allows me a lot of face time with our team. So I was born and raised here, and left for a bit and came back, and We have a daughter who's a sophomore will be a sophomore here at St. Lawrence. I have a son, Bobby, who's 18. He's a senior, and another daughter. She's 17. She'll be a junior, both at prep schools in Connecticut. And, maybe Bobby will end up coming back here. He plays lacrosse and plays a little bit of hockey, and has done well down there. And Sarah's got a couple years left, and I'm not sure if she's overly interested in coming back here. I think she might go somewhere else, but we'll see with Bobby. I know he likes it up here, and he's got a good group of friends that are all going to St. Lawrence. A lot of local kids are going to St. Lawrence. A lot of faculty and staff, kids over these last couple of years, their kids are going to St. Lawrence, and I think that just kind of says a lot about St. Lawrence and for the kids to go. Like our kids are going, Chris Downs' kid, Mahoney's boys are going. And I just think that, our families see the experience we have working at St. Lawrence, and, they see the joy that we have, and, how we talk about, our jobs and our experiences. And, I think there's a lot of families where, kids have their parents come home and they don't like their jobs, and they turn to another profession because my mom and dad did this, and all I did is hear them complain about what they do every time they come home for dinner. And I think that says a lot about St. Lawrence and the experience that we all have to have so many faculty and staff kids attend the university, so who knows if we'll have another one, but our daughter absolutely loves it.
Because
this second year,
this day and age, not this day, but any day, kids that age usually are trying to get away from, their small hometown, or away from their being under their parents' thumb. So that definitely does say a lot about St. Lawrence University if the kids, faculty and staff kids want to go to school there.
So many, and I did the same thing. I went away and obviously looked at some different places, and you just end up going and you end up comparing everything to St. Lawrence. The facilities that you have. I mean, that place was a playground for me. It was right across the street. The house I grew up in was one street over from St. Lawrence, and I'm on the other side of town now. But I used to just run out the front door, and we sledding down the hill or playing chase and getting caught in the library and sent home by security, or hide and seek in Augsbury and Leetad. And I remember when Breaker was hunting us down when we were little kids, to get out of there, when he was just starting as a athletic director, and we're 10, 11, 12 years old running around in Augsbury and places that we shouldn't be. So that was a playground for us. So they were great experiences for us. And then you go and visit other schools, and you're kind of like, wow, they don't have an Augsbury, they don't have an Appleton, they don't have the library or the dorms or the student center, the library and the dining halls. And kids, I think, end up comparing, to St. Lawrence, the kids that are affiliated with it, and say, what, I'm going to end up going to St. Lawrence. And truly, when you're at St. Lawrence and you're from Canton or Potsdam or Brazier or Ogdensburg, you're in a different spot. It's not in, you are truly away, and you can go back home when you want. You're close enough to go home for dinners and laundry, and you just want to get away. But those are the most conversations I have with local kids, just explaining to them, once you're at St. Lawrence, you are at St. Lawrence. You're not in your hometown school.
Hey, so Chris, kind of backtracking, I got to hear a little bit more about your couple of years playing over in Europe. First off, how do you equate? Mickey Locke played professional hockey over in Europe for a little while, and so how do you equate professional hockey over there as to the minor league levels over here? Where's the talent lie, I guess, is where I'm.
So when I went to France, it was the time. It was a lot of fun, and it was not a lot of heavy lifting, but heavy enough where you get your competitive juices going, but you were still able to enjoy, the culture over there and experience it the way that we should. And I had a great team and a couple of mentors on the team that took me under their wing and showed me around. So, like I said, it wasn't a lot of heavy lifting. We practiced Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we played Saturday night. And every other team had one étranger, an import. And I remember the first game, the coach comes up to me, player coach. He's about 40 years old, smoking a cigarette, and he just says, "Your job, outscore other étranger," and that was it. And some games, it would be 10-9, and you'd have 8 points, and hopefully, the other importer only had 7. But we were able to travel all over. We went to we played in Nice twice. We were up in Bordeaux. We were up in Paris. We went down to Barcelona for our training camp. We were in Cannes. It was just a fantastic experience. And because we didn't practice until Monday night, all the other players on the team worked except one other player, the best French player. They paid enough where he didn't have to work. So we would bus up, and this was an experience, so we had, we'd get on the bus. Well, practice was Friday night from like 5 to 6. And then if we had to drive and play at 2:00 and it was a 7-hour bus drive, what we did is we practiced from 5 to 6. And then we just stayed at the rink, and the players the first night were like, "Oh, okay, we're going to go up to the bar." I said, "Oh, we getting something to eat?" And they go, "No, we're going to start drinking." I said, "What are you talking about? We got a game tomorrow at 2:00. So you end up going to the bar, and you had a couple of drinks, and then the bus would show up at midnight, and you'd ride the bus from midnight to 7. You'd get to the place, you'd have your breakfast, you'd go for a walk, and then you'd go to the rink at noon for your 2:00 game play, and then you gave the B is who we called him. He was our manager. We gave him 20 francs, which at that point was about $4.50. And you would come back, and on your seat was everything that you needed for the ride home. And a lot of times I would ride the bus home, but a lot of times also, because practice was Monday night, I would stay in the areas and sightsee on Sunday, Monday morning, and then I jumped the train and get back for practice. So it was a fantastic experience. My whole family came over. My 2 sisters came over for about a week, and we had a blast. And then my parents came over. They came over to watch me play 3 weeks of hockey. And in the very first game, a guy kicked me right in the nose, right here. And so I didn't like that. And I ended up getting in a fight with him. And I ended up getting kicked out of that game. And so we walked in the locker rooms. I walk in the ice here, off the ice here. He walks off the ice down here. But then there was a hallway, the length of the hallway like this. And of course there was nobody there. So he starts yelling at me, and I couldn't understand. So I just ran down the hallway. So we continued on the hallway. So I got suspended an extra 2 games. So I was out the entire time my parents came over. So my mom wasn't overly thrilled, but I think my dad was kind of quietly proud of the moment. So, yeah. But it was a great experience. A lot of my friends came over, and we had a blast. Like I said, it wasn't a lot of heavy lifting, but it wasn't anywhere near any of the professional leagues that we're playing over here, for sure. But it was a great experience. I came home with enough money in my pocket to spend the summer down at Cape Cod, and then went back over to England with Richie Beaupre the next year. And that hockey was a lot better. They had 4 imports. 3-4 imports on every team. A lot of Canadians had their passports over in the UK, so that hockey was much better. And that was fun too. That was another good year.
Oh, I bet. I'm loving listening to this stuff. This is great.
Mhm.
So you get done in England, and then so you've now spent a year in France, a year in England, and then you come home. And you go to work in Lake Tahoe?
Lake Tahoe. So my buddy Darren Abbott, whose dad was the head coach here, 76 to 80. 2 of us grew up together. So we're down in Cape Cod, and we're working. And I said, "Listen, I'm going to give it another go." We're both working down at Chatham Bars Inn. and they had housing for the staff there, and we're working the convention season. So, you're just running around, and everybody wants their chowder and their lobster, and, you just kind of move them in and out, and it's a beautiful facility right on the water. But by October, I had an $800 ticket with open-ended, and I had $1,000 in my pocket, and I called Bopes up and I said, "What do you think?" He goes, "Come on over." He goes, "This time of year, a lot of teams aren't happy with their imports the first couple of weeks, and they're looking for new imports. They cut their imports and they want new imports. And if you're in the country, that saves them a plane ticket. And, you just jump the train, you're right up there." So, I flew over with $1,000 in my pocket with no team and trusted Rich Beaupre. So for all you guys who know Bopes, that was a huge leap of faith for me. And so on my way over, a team cut their import. No, the team guys import got injured. And so I landed, and Bopes was like, "Hey, you're going to be playing 2 games this weekend. Doc Dirtle got hurt, and you're going down to Wales." And those 2 games were nationally televised for some reason. So I played on those. I played in those 2 games, but everybody watched the games. So after those 2 games, I got a call from Telford, and went up there and played in Telford. And then one thing led to another, and Bopes' team, the import, got injured. And I ended up playing with Bopes down in Slough. But before I left England, Joey, to get to Lake Tahoe, Darren and I looked at each other, and we had Tahoe, Aspen, and Jackson Hole kind of like on the wall. And I don't know what we threw at it, but we said whatever one it hits the closest, it was his job to go set up shop for us. And when I came back from England, I'd just meet him wherever he was, and he'd have the house. And so, yeah, he had it all set up, and he ended up spending a couple of years out there. And I probably would have stayed in Tahoe for a little while, except Donnie Vaughn called me there in August. So I flew into Lake Tahoe May 1st, and there was 2 feet of snow. And it came down that day. It melted in about a day, and I didn't see a cloud for 90 straight days. It was the best weather I've ever seen. I don't know if anybody's been to Tahoe. We were in North. We were up in Squaw. And it was absolutely beautiful. And, hope to get back there. My wife and I have been to some nice places just, in Europe, and she went abroad. And obviously I've been to Tahoe, and, so now, the kids are old enough. We hope to, be able to take some trips and be able to show the kids where we've been when we were growing up. But that's how it all started. And, I've had some great experiences, and I think, not that you asked, but I think that's kind of how we try to run our program. Obviously we love to try to win as many games as we can. And I think one of the things that our kids know is we try to give them the best experience that they can. And, if we got to stop in New York City on the bus and we don't get in till late and the kids don't get enough sleep, that's okay. How many of these kids, we got some kids from, Saskatchewan or, the Midwest who will never get to New York City. And, we go from Quinnipiac to Princeton on the bus, and, our bus driver drove bus in New York City for 25 years, and he just hammers it around like he's bombing through downtown Brazier. And we're right down Times Square. And, so we get to go to New York City. We went out to California for 10 days a couple of years ago, and played a couple of games out there. So try to give them as many experiences as we can. We do have a couple other trips that we're brainstorming now, but obviously we'll have to wait and see how things go over the next couple of years.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm sitting here coaching. I'm in awe. You've had a terrible life.
Yeah.
Just
starting, Pete. It's just starting.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
It's horrible.
From here on, yeah, you need to get out more.
Yeah. Thank goodness for golf. Talking about getting out. You imagine. I know Joey's golfers. I don't know if you guys are golfers, but certainly if there wasn't golf here over the last 5 months, I don't know what a lot of people would be doing. I think people feel comfortable and safe, and you do the things you love. Somebody said, I don't know why I love golf so much, because I pay so much money and I hurt my own feelings. So when you think of it that way, I saw that on the internet somewhere. So, but isn't it the truth? It's the most humbling game ever. It's just you and the golf ball and nobody else.
Yeah, that's for sure. And you know, I'm thinking about it because I know Pete was, you know, I I'm not gonna say I was in awe, but I certainly I love hearing the stories, especially like when you just get out of college, and for you to go over to Europe and do that. Chris Bernard, we had Chris Bernard on a couple weeks ago, and Chris has told me privately, and he told a little bit about his stories, but about his couple of minor league years. And you just hear those stories, and I'm like, you know, you did the right thing. Go do that for a couple of years and then dive into life. I mean,
no kidding.
That's a great, I mean, I hope some college kids are watching this and if you got the ability or the chance to have a couple of years like that, you're not going to be a big time professional. Yeah, that had to been, I mean, those are experiences that you're never going to forget.
They're fantastic. I mean, it changed my life, you know, it absolutely changed my life. Did you get Barnyard off in an hour? I mean, that must have been like a 3-part series.
We could have talked all night.
You know,
What'd you guys just do? Ask one. I mean, I know I've been talking quite a bit, but what'd you just do? Just say, "Hey, Chris, how you doing?" and then just sit back.
That was it. Welcome to Wise Guys.
We've had a couple like that, but
Yeah. Yeah. Coaches can talk.
Chris is an easy interview, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, he's great to talk to.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we need to thank, you know, we probably should be calling the presidents at SUNY Potsdam and St. Lawrence University, because between the two colleges, I mean, well, I think I wrote them down. We've had 5 SLU. You made number 5 tonight, and we're having number 6 on next week. We're having Sinead is coming on next week.
Oh yeah, great. Yeah, she's great.
We've had 5 Potsdam State or SUNY Potsdam coaches come on as well. So you guys have been great to us, and great stories and great information. I can't thank these 2 institutions enough. Sure. Go ahead, Dave.
Wasn't me.
Oh, sorry. So Chris, you never got into Appleton? You guys never played a game?
We're in there for we played games. So at the New Year, we got dressed on the visitor side, and we were in there, and then we played our first game against Clarkson the 19th, and you know what an experience that was to. I mean, to be able to have the first game in the renovated Appleton be for the women's team, that meant more than anything to them. And, you know, to be able to beat Clarkson, obviously, anytime is important and fun. And but to have the first game back to beat Clarkson and then to be able to beat them was certainly memorable. But, you know, one of the other things that I always like to talk about is that, you know, the Clarkson staff, you know, that Georgie Frank, who's from Canton, he grew up, you know, right around the corner from me. His dad, when the ice storm came in 98, right? The ice storm in 98, I was down at Colgate. You know, Georgie Frank's dad's over to my parents' house, you know, hooking up their generator because they don't know how to do it. So Georgie was our trainer at St. Lawrence as a student. Now he's a full-time equipment manager, St. Lawrence grad. All 3 coaches are St. Lawrence grads. So Appleton has meant so much to not only our staff, but the Clarkson staff as well. So I think it meant a lot to them to be able to come back in Appleton and have be there for that first game. And then we played a couple games too, but we got dressed on the visitor side. And then the last week of the season kind of is when we moved in and we're able to stay in there. And we played 2 road weekends. Our last weekend of the season was on the road. So we left, you know, we kind of moved in for sure on the Sunday night. And we practiced Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, left Thursday, played on the weekend, came back, played Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, left for the road on Thursday for our playoff series. And then by, you know, 8-9 days later, everybody was going home. So that was kind of the extent of it. So it still smells new. And, you know, there's stuff in my office that hasn't even been touched. Yeah. I mean, we've been in there, you know, tops, you know, 10 days. So, you know, when we do get to move back in, it's going to be brand new for us. Yeah.
Well, awesome.
Good. I know I wanted to I know we're running out of time, but I do play golf, and I do want to talk about some people, and I don't know what the junior golf has been like your way, but Joe Keniston and John Pesdek about 8-9 years ago volunteered their own time. These are two old golfers from St. Lawrence Golf and Country Club and worked at St. Lawrence University. And they took vacation days and ran the junior tour, North Country Junior Tour, and Victory Promotions did a good job, backing and giving the kids some stuff and the swag and all that. But they got so many young kids into golf in the North Country. And to see all them playing now, we played down in Carloden at the 6 and 8 man team, and seeing how many kids from the junior tour have moved on. I mean, our son alone played in so many tournaments, and he's out in the golf course right now with all his buddies who all played in the the Mahoney boys and Jack Finnerty, and all those kids are still playing, and they're playing well. And I think that is something I wanted to talk about the junior tour before we got off, because I think we all play golf, and Joey's got his big tournament here this weekend, so he's getting ready to go. And I think to be able to spend their time like Keniston and Pesdek did, I certainly just wanted to give them a mention. And our club championship at St. Lawrence this weekend, the winner was Jake Van House, who was a junior tour member. I think he's a sophomore at Elmira College. Second was Tyler Berkman, who's a junior tour. He'll probably be on the junior tour at least for 3 more years. And then Ryan Jones, so 3 of the best scorers were, all kids who couldn't even have a celebratory drink after the round.
So, well, Chris, I caddied this weekend in the Malone Club Championship. A buddy of mine who's 5 years older than me, he's 56, but he can still play. He shot. Malone is a 3-day for the club club championship for the A flight. So he goes out on Friday afternoon and he shoots 74, and he's only 1 back, and he's excited. And I said, hey, I'm gonna come up. I'm gonna carry your bag for you on Saturday. So I did, and he was playing with a young kid named Trent Thomas, and he had won it last year. And he won it again this year. He ended up winning it by 9 strokes, but holy cow, it just pounds it. I mean, just pounds it. I mean, he blue tees, didn't have anything longer than a 6-iron into any par 5. Just flip wedges on the par 4s, and I just amazed at his length, and that began to realize how age is catching up to all of us, because I can't come close to hitting the ball that far, and neither can my buddy Rich. It was a real eye opener. And where I'm going with it is, we had Mary on. Mary Lawrence was on a couple weeks ago. We had Derek Sprague on a couple weeks ago, and I know, talking to Mickey Locke all summer, I mean, I've played more than I've ever played, not competitively, but I'm playing, and it's because of this situation. And you're going to see a whole new wave of kids in the sport of golf. Dave is a superintendent down in Inlet, so he's seeing the same thing down there. Just new faces, but a lot of young kids that had no opportunities to play other sports are now diving into the game of golf.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of great things. I've never played the Inlet course, but I've heard a lot of great things about the Inlet course.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Must be the superintendent.
I don't think that had anything to do with it.
Well, but Thomas was leading, I believe, the 6-man after day 1. He shot 72, and Joey Delisle, who I played with the second day, ended up winning it. I was happy for him. I tell you what, he battled in the front 9 that day, and then he sank 4 putts on the last 4 holes that, certainly won them. I mean, they were all tough. I mean, those Carlouden greens, the way they had them shaved and where the pins were, I can't imagine there were any tougher in the North Country that they could make. And he did a great job finishing that tournament off.
Well, yeah, I miss the 6-man days. The juices flow when I hear the guys start to talk about it, but then I realize the work you got to put into it, and you guys deserve a lot of credit for still keeping your golf games at that competitive
It's hard
level.
to post a score, you know what I mean? You don't post a good score. It's hard to post a score, I mean, the club championship scores are still up on the board on Tuesday. I'm like, hey, is it time to get those down? You know, it's just, but these young kids, they go out and they're fearless, and they're just like, I mean, our son played, and so we played 18 on Sunday morning, and we came home, and he grabbed a sandwich, and he's right out the door. He went over to Partridge and played 9 holes, and then he came back in and grabbed another sandwich, and he went out and played 18 holes with his buddy. He played 54 holes on Sunday, you know, and he's got there's 5 or 6 kids in tow all the time, and it's just an awesome, in that regard, you know. The North Country is a pretty good place to be for what's going on in the world, to be able to do the things that we can do. And in Canton, to have 2 courses a mile away from where we are now, and hey, if you can't get a tee time at 1, you just make another call and you're there in 3 minutes. So
Yep, you're right, and it's exactly what Derek Sprague said when we interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, that golf is going to be a victor out of this whole situation.
Oh, yeah.
Not just North Country, but probably nationwide, because I think you're going to see a whole new influx of. In fact, Derek even mentions, don't be surprised, 5-10 years, you're going to hear somebody winning on the PGA Tour who's going to say, "Yeah, I picked up a golf club during that 2020 year of COVID." So. You know, I think you will see that happen.
Yeah, it's fun, and plus it's the only thing, you know, they're one of the first, you know, national sports to be able to get out in front of it and for us to watch when we're all dying to watch some sports. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that some of these other sports can maintain what they've been doing. Obviously, the NHL seems to be doing the best, and basketball's done a nice job after the first couple of weeks, and college football will be a question mark. And if the NFL can pull it off and college football can't, then we'll be watching Saturday and Sunday NFL, I think, which I think we all can find some time for that. Or a Saturday, Sunday round down at Inlet in late September.
There you go.
Well, Chris, you probably I doubt I sent it to you, and I don't know if you're on Facebook or not, but so we're trying to organize something, and we're going to get at least a couple of foursomes. Thursday, August 27th, we're going down to play Dave's course.
Are you?
Yep. So if you can,
okay.
If you want to come down yourself, if you want to bring a foursome, just let us know so that Dave can make. We're going to try to tee off like around 10 o'clock.
Okay, great.
So, yeah, so we definitely have 2 foursomes. We'd love to get a third, and we're hoping that we can get 3 or 4 or 5 foursomes, but we'll take whatever.
That's the 27th.
Thursday the 27th. Yep.
Yeah,
So if any
okay.
of our viewers out there, you know, they're going to watch this. Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have as many. I brought it up to Dave because I wanted to go down and see his course. I love, you know, I'm just like you. I love seeing new courses, and I've never played it. 2.5 hours away doesn't bother me. I'm ready for a road trip. I want to go down and see it. So that's
I know. Well, when we were playing up in Saranac there, I think there was a group that was going down to play Dave the next day, or there was talk of it that they were going down there. And Littler is a true connoisseur of all golf courses, and had high marks for playing down at Inlet.
Well, he raves about it, and Randy Todd right now is scrambling to find a way to be able to come with me on Thursday.
To get down there.
He wants to go badly because he's going on Littler's word that it's a true Adirondack gem. You gotta go play Inlet. So, well, Chris,
great. This was fun, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Well, we can't thank you enough for coming on, and you easily filled the hour. Well, I'll send this to Chris Bernard, and you guys can duke it out.
No. I'm JV compared to Barnyard. I'm JV. I got.
Well, thanks a lot, man. We appreciate it.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks.
Thanks a lot for being on, Coach, and good luck with your season if you have one.
Thanks. I'd love to see you guys. Let me know if you guys ever come to a game, if it's not this year, but obviously the game has improved so much, and obviously, you know, Clarkson winning the national championships has brought a lot of notoriety to women's hockey up in the North Country, and we got a nice rivalry with them, and you know, our class is coming in over the next couple of years. We feel we're going to be quite competitive, and you know, after we get back on the ice, I think everybody's looking forward to see what we can do.
Add it to the road trip, boys.
Yep, we'll be there. Yep, absolutely.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
We'll have a wise guys section for you.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
You guys got
Beautiful.
T-shirts? You guys got
We
T-shirts or not?
We got koozies. I'll get you a koozie.
A koozie.
We're working on some swag. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that what the host get? Is that what you get for being a guest? You get
Yes,
a koozie?
yes,
That's
Randy.
the guest gift.
Randy
Yep.
Todd will be dropping you off a koozie.
All
I
right.
got something I can put in it.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
That's going to be it
See you
tonight.
guys.
That's going to be it tonight on ESS Empire State Sports and the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show. So good night from Joey Rio, Dave Butler, myself, and our special guest, Chris Wells. Good night, everybody, and stay safe.